What are you?
We're Venom!
I can't believe they actually danced. I know it's called The Last Dance, but they did it. Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk about Venom 3, The Last Dance. Gosh, I hope it's The Last Dance. This is our spoiler-filled review, so we are going to be talking spoilers. We are going to be talking more than I talked about in my immediate reaction. I try to keep those super spoiler-free for people, so that if they want my thoughts, but without any spoilers, that's what you get. So if that's what you want, go check out the reaction. That's right after I got out of the theater, what my thoughts were. But for now, we're going to talk about spoilers, because before we jump in, let's talk about this plot. It's quite a bit of a plot. I'm going to try to summarize it as much as I can, but there's like a lot that happens and a lot that doesn't make sense. So come along with me. Starts off where Venom finds out that he's basically being framed for murder because of the death of Peter Mulligan. Also, multiverse stuff, but anyways, that's not relevant. We're done with that. So yeah, Peter Mulligan, dead. They believe Eddie is the suspect, so he's a wanted man. And so he has a plan. He gets a plan with Venom. They're going to go to New York City, and they are going to blackmail a judge because Eddie's got dirt on the judge. While they're on their way there, they end up liberating some dogs who were trapped in a dog fighting ring, and they also get chased by a xenophage. Xenophages are these monsters that Null sends to pursue Venom specifically, because Null is a bad dude in outer space who is looking to get free from a prison the symbiotes put him in. In the comics, Null is basically the god of the symbiotes, so he's got a lot of importance in the comics, some super cool events. Xenophages don't appear as much, but they are aliens that like to eat symbiotes in the comics. They're not usually controlled by Null. Null is a symbiote, so in theory, they should want to eat him. But anyways, Null is the symbiote, really. He's the creator of them. He is the guy. But anyways, they're working for Null in this movie, and they are chasing Venom. Meanwhile, over at Area 51, we learn Area 51 is being decommissioned, and the scientists and military there are guarding projects, working on stuff. They're actually working on some alien projects involving symbiotes, which they have. They just got them. They're just there. It's a thing. Peter Mulligan is also revealed to actually not be dead, but instead be alive, brought to the facility in secret, so the rest of the world thinks he's dead, and they managed to bond him with a different symbiote because the one that we see merge with him at the end of Venom 2 has fled, which we would know in the comics as Toxin. Toxin is a super cool, super important symbiote. Anyways, Toxin's not in this, so don't worry about that. The symbiotes that they do have at the facility actually remind me a lot of the Life Foundation symbiotes. I think that's kind of what they're supposed to be, and Peter Mulligan seems to be merged with a symbiote that is basically Lasher. That's what it reminded me of. While merged, Mulligan warns that Null is coming, and Null is really bad. He's going to destroy everything and all life. That kind of threat. And we know that this is also true because Venom backs this up. And we also saw, of course, in the movie, Null sent the xenophages. So sure, that all makes sense. Venom also shares this knowledge, like I said, with Eddie, while also revealing that, they're very much in danger because they are a codex, which Null can basically use to escape his prison. Basically, Eddie and Venom are a key because Venom saved Eddie's life while they were bonded together. So now they have created a codex. Null can use that codex like a key to get out of the prison. And it's located in your spine. FYI. Codices, if you prefer. They're a thing in the comics. They don't work the same, but in the comics, they're different. But I digress. Venom also lets Eddie know that while they're merged together, they will send out a homing beacon, basically to attract the xenophage. The xenophage can only see them when they're bonded together, so they decide, we probably shouldn't do a lot of bonding unless we need to be bonded at that time. This whole time, they've been trying to make their way to New York, but of course, being chased by xenophages, they've been a bit taken off course from that. They also then get hunted down by the military. Now that they know all this from Mulligan, they're looking to capture Venom themselves because obviously Null sounds like a pretty scary threat, so they want to deal with that in their own way. Also, we have established that if either the Venom symbiote or Eddie are killed, then that will make them no longer a codex. That nullifies everything. So the military also have thoughts about that. The military do confront Venom and Eddie, but they don't manage to capture them because the xenophage comes, and then Eddie and Venom walk through the desert and run into a family that is on the road, living in a van, basically hippies looking for aliens. That's what their life is. So they're on their way to Area 51 before it closes down. They end up giving Eddie and Venom a ride to Las Vegas, not knowing that Eddie, of course, is literally bonded with an alien this whole time. Once in Las Vegas, Eddie runs into Mrs. Chen, who it turns out is winning really big while in Vegas, and ends up getting a much needed shower in her penthouse suite, promoting gambling. That's what we're doing here. And while that's going on, she decides it's a good time for a dance number, and Venom agrees, even though he knows that if he bonds with Eddie and dances with him, then a xenophage will come, and it does, and then the military come and take Venom away, and the xenophage manages to follow the military, and then we get to this sort of final showdown at the Area 51 base. And everyone's there. I mean, the scientists are there that we've established. Dr. Payne is there. The scientists, the security, the military, some of them end up getting merged with the symbiotes in this final showdown against the xenophage. The xenophage is there. The xenophage sees Venom, calls out to Null. More xenophages come through portals. And then we also have the alien-loving family there. Not all of them love aliens. The little boy doesn't love aliens. He confessed this to Venom during the road trip, or confessed this to Eddie, not knowing that Venom was also there. And Eddie told him, yeah, there's no such thing as aliens. Totally a lie, because Eddie is literally with an alien all the time. And yet, here we are, and for some reason, this is a whole thing. What are we doing? What is happening? They have this final showdown, and ultimately Venom sacrifices their symbiote gooiness by trapping the xenophages within them, and then getting Strickland, who is played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And I don't know why Ejiofor is in this movie, but I do hope that he was paid well. He plays Strickland, this general, and Strickland, using his clearance with Venom, they're able to dissolve the xenophages in acid, which was established at the beginning because Area 51's being closed. They were dissolving things in acid. So that's a whole thing. At the end of the movie, Eddie goes back to New York, but he's alone this time, and he finally sees the Statue of Liberty, something that him and Venom were going to do together. He does by himself. There's a montage of all the good times we've had. Roll credits. Also, Null promises that one day, he'll get up out of his chair. He doesn't have a codex, so I don't know how he's going to do it, but one day he's coming. He's promising. So that's the entire movie. This literally finished, and my reaction was, is that it? Because I just was like, I guess we're not really building to anything. I just feel like Null is a very empty threat at this point. In fact, there are some things that I felt were just more intimidating than Null, even though Null is one of the most intimidating characters in the comics. He's a really powerful villain, but we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, let's just talk about how we got here, you know? This is the end of the trilogy, the Venom trilogy. How do we feel about that? I haven't really done any other videos on the other Venom films because I wasn't making videos regularly at that time. So to just give you my thoughts on the earlier films, Venom 1, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought parts of it were dumb, though. I actually was one of the people, I remember a lot of people when that movie came out really loved it, but I was like, oh, this part was kind of, and everyone thought I was being overly critical. Okay? And then Venom 2 came out, which was a literal nightmare. I don't mean because Carnage was in it. That's not what I mean. I mean, it was a literal nightmare in the way that that movie was painful for me to watch, and I almost walked out of that theater. Fun fact. I almost left. It was so cheesy. That script is so bad. This was on a day that I also saw Eternals, and I saw the first Dune, the new Dune. And, yeah, I really liked Eternals. I liked Dune, and Venom 2 was the worst thing I'd seen. And then I had to suffer afterwards because I found out Venom 2 was more highly rated than Eternals on Rotten Tomatoes. And I thought, how is that possible? How is that possible? Venom 2 was so bad. So after Let There Be Carnage, obviously my hopes were not very high for Venom 3, okay? The Last Dance. However, I said, you know, if they're going to do this, and it's the final one, I think it should be Null. And then Null wasn't initially in the trailer, and then they were like, oh, Null is in the trailer. And then I was like, okay, that sounds promising. I didn't know that they hadn't compensated the creators of the character, Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates, nor was I aware that the creators of Null were not even informed that their character was being used in this movie. But those are all real things that happened. Don't worry, they ended up being compensated in the end. Although I don't know if Larry Hama was compensated for xenophages. But anyways, this movie, you know, it has some fun moments. I'll give it that. But, you know, it's ridiculous as well. Kind of like Venom 1, but more ridiculous. And is definitely disrespectful to some of the characters in regards to the vast amount of things you could have done with some of these characters who have just so much in the comics. So basically, disappointing. Disappointing doesn't even really fully sum it up. It's worse than disappointing. It's just abysmal. It's terrible. But Venom 2, I gotta be honest with you guys, Venom 2 is still the worst one for me. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, is literally terrifyingly horrible. It is just a train wreck of a movie. It is not good. If you're thinking, I'm gonna go watch it right now, don't you dare. Don't do it. Don't. Stop yourself. The highlight of Venom 3 for me is probably the xenophage design, actually. Duck and I talked about this after we filmed the reaction. We finished filming that, and then we were talking about how we both really liked the xenophage design. I was like, we didn't mention that, but we should mention that. So here I am mentioning it. I love how scary they are. Immediately when the xenophage first appears on screen after Eddie is leaving and walking down the street in Mexico, I was like, man, that xenophage scared me. I liked it. And they're intimidating. And honestly, more intimidating than Null, who just can't get up out of his chair here. He's trapped. He's trapped in the chair. King in Black can't get up. That is another title for Null, by the way. So what happened here? I mean, here's the other thing, though. You know, I went back to look at Xenophage, who appears in... You know, I went back to look at the origins of Xenophages, which first appearance is Venom the Hunted, which is actually better than this movie is. Honestly, I wish they had just adapted Venom the Hunted. I feel like it's a better story. It's written by Larry Hama, and it is a 90s comic story. I like 90s comics personally. But to some people, me saying that a 90s comic is better than this, I'm sure some people will say, wow, that must mean this is bad. But this is actually, I think, a pretty decent 90s comic story. It involves the xenophage, comes to Earth to eat Venom, and loves also eating hosts of symbiotes because they've been bonded with them, and so their brains taste good. Xenophages love eating brains and symbiotes. That's what they do. And, you know, Sony had the option here. They said, we could have done Venom the Hunted. We could have done, you know, we got some good Null events. We could have done Absolute Carnage. We could have done King in Black. Well, no, they couldn't really have done Absolute Carnage because Carnage is killed in the second movie. But they could have done some form of King in Black. They could have done their own versions of these things. But they said, no, 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 no. We're just going to take bits and pieces of these stories. We're going to put them together, add in things, some other things, Life Foundation symbiotes, basically. We're going to add in lots of other random bullshit. And we're going to give it some blackjack and hookers. Literally. Because we're in Vegas. It being Vegas also even reminded me of I think it was an Infinity comic story that I read where Venom and Carnage end up fighting in Vegas. They have this really awesome fight scene. And honestly, I even like that more than this story. It's just better. There's tons of plot holes in Venom 3 and weird character choices. Some of them sometimes are at least entertaining. Like the song and dance number, it's ridiculous. It's dumb. But at least I was like, you know what? This is goofy, and I kind of like how goofy it is. The running joke of Eddie just never getting to have shoes is actually funny. And, you know, even the dance, but I understand the dance is illogical. The dance is illogical because you know that the xenophage is then coming. So why would you do that, Venom? Why would you do that? However, some of these things are just completely illogical and strange, much like that choice to do a dance when you know your life will be in danger. I don't know if dancing is worth that. We have Peter Mulligan's death when he didn't even die, which is, of course, put on Eddie when in reality, you know, I'm sure they would have found, if it was DNA that led them to believe this? What about Cletus Cassidy's DNA? Because he was there. Is there no DNA from him? What about Shriek's DNA? Wouldn't you think that maybe either of these people who, you know, are insane killers established to be bad people might have been behind it? Did they not find their DNA? I don't know. Eddie choosing to go so many places where CCTV and security cameras are just present. And also being like, I know how to fix this. We're being hunted down by the police. Everyone wants us. We're wanted. Let's go to New York City. No, wait, let's go inside a casino in Las Vegas. Project Imperium or whatever that was. The guy that was behind everything, the silhouetted figure. What was that about? Will we ever find out? Probably not. The kid who doesn't like aliens, like I said, tells Eddie, you know, I'm scared of aliens. Eddie blatantly lies to him about aliens, but he does it to comfort him, which I kind of understand. But then in Area 51, this kid is the one that finds the gap in the fence, the hole in the fence, and also goes through it, and then also says to his family, come on, I thought you were afraid of aliens. What is happening? So many things that contradict each other. And that's not all, friends, because we got some characters here that I also just, like, didn't really care that much about. We got Dr. Payne, who has this really tragic backstory, admittedly, but I didn't really feel like we gave much depth to her character. There was not much reason for me to care about her, other than, yeah, her brother died. He was struck by lightning. That's also such a weird backstory. It feels more comics than comics, if that makes sense. She ends up becoming Agony, becomes merged with the Agony symbiotes, which, yeah, like I said, Life Foundation vibes. Honestly, a waste of the Life Foundation symbiotes in this movie. Also, Jim, the security guard. He gets some development in this. He gets to bond with a symbiote. I wish we'd established the characters more who got to bond, but Jim was at least a little bit established from the beginning. And yet dead. Instantly nerfed. So many of these people instantly nerfed. Rest in peace, Jim, the security guard at Area 51. We'll never forget you, Jim. I hope Jim's family, they got some sort of consolation from all this. You know, Eddie gets his record expunged. What does Jim's family get? They get a gift card. Wait a minute. They get a gift card to Olive Garden. They get a $50 gift card to Olive Garden. They get the Sonic treatment. Also, the weird alien searching family, actually all really, I feel like, good actors. Even that little kid was really good, actually. But, and we also have Otto Hightower here, playing the dad. But they're weird, man. Like, they're really weird. Like, what is even happening with that family? What are they even doing in this movie? I don't know. I don't think they know. I don't know if anyone knows. We also talked in our review about how much this movie cost. We said it looked cheap, okay? That's what we said. We said it kind of looked like it might be cheap because they were shooting in Las Vegas, and we thought that must be cheaper than shooting in San Francisco. And we also observed, this was something that we talked about, the fact that Venom isn't fully merged with Eddie for most of the film, and they literally write into it a reason that they can't be. So, you know, maybe they're trying to cut back on their CG budget. Guess what, friends? Guess what? We were wrong. Venom 1 costs $100 million, or were estimated around $100 million was the cost for that movie. Venom 2 is estimated to be around $110 million budget. Venom 3, $120 million budget. It went up. How? After Venom 2, it went up. And I think it's actually made that money back and then some still. I think the box office, although the box office hasn't been doing well, it's no first Venom film for its opening weekend, it's still, I think it has over 300 million. So I don't know, but it's not good. It's not a good movie. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. This movie is just, I'm just glad it's over at this point. I hope it's over. Goodness, please let it be over. I can't do this anymore. I gave this a 2 out of 5. I think it is a little generous. I could probably reduce it to a 1, but I'm going to leave it at a 2 because I do think some of the acting in this is good. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor actually does a good job, and at one point even made me think about the complicated relationship here between the military and the scientists, and how, you know, just because they're scientists doesn't mean they're the good guys. Like, he lost an entire team, and Dr. Payne's response is, Did you get any samples? And he's like, I just lost 3 people. Like, that was actually an interesting moment. So, you know, for the actors who I think are at least trying, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. That's where we're at. I got nothing else to say here. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking of this. Did you love it? I hope someone loved it. If you loved it, please tell me. Tell me why you loved it, please. Please. I need to know if someone got something out of this movie. All right, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this slight amount of torture for myself. I had some fun moments, though, at least. I'll see you next time. And until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy.